zchus to have been invited to this great event by Odelia Jacobs, by Yaniv, and Rabbi Schoenfeld Shlita, because tonight really is a historic initiative. Tonight we're going to make a difference, and hopefully Queens is going to be able to change the world. And I want to introduce it with a machlokes that we find in Masechta Shabbos. There's a machlokes between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. The Gemara tells us first the view of Beis Shammai, and it says, "Ein mishatchin es hatinoikos la'aretz." On Shabbos, you're not supposed to talk about Shidduchim to try to get a girl engaged. And Beis Shammai is murder. Beis Shammai says yes. And Rashi explains why does Beis Shammai say you can't, and why does Beis Hillel says that of course you can. And Beis Shammai says a shidduch is a private matter. It's a private family thing. And the Pasuk tells us that you're not supposed to talk about your own personal things on Shabbos. You don't talk about business, you don't talk about your own things that have nothing to do with Klal Yisrael. However, Beis Shammai says just the opposite. Beis Shammai says that the reason that you have to talk about Shidduchim on Shabbos, he says because this is not Chevtcha. A shidduch is not a private matter. This is Cheftzei Shemayim. When a couple gets married, that's part of Klal Yisrael. That's the future of Klal Yisrael. So of course you have to talk about it on Shabbos. What could be more important than building Klal Yisrael? And if that's the case, tonight we get together as a wonderful tzibur, because we're going to talk about Cheftzei Shemayim. We're talking about the future of Klal Yisrael. And I'll tell you something very interesting. Rabbi Aaron Kotler, who was the Rosh Hashiva, of course, of Beis Medrash Gavoya in Lakewood, he gave many shmuzim, and they are recorded in a sefer called Mishnas Rabbi. And in there it writes, Ki ha'olam miskayim. How does the world exist? Rak al yedei hamargishim achrayas. Only by those who feel a responsibility. V'loy al yedei ha'oimrim sholem alecha nafshi u'porshim min hatzibur. The world can't exist by those people who say, let somebody else do it. We have to feel an achrayas for the tzibur. Every single one of us. And not only that, every single one that will be watching this on TorahAnytime.com within 24 hours. This will be all around the world. And I'm saying this to every man and woman that's listening. Whether all your children are married, it makes no difference. You still have to get involved in Shidduchim. Because that's what Rabbi Aaron is telling us. The world exists only by those who feel an achrayas. And if you are fortunate enough to have your children married, that's great. But the achrayas still stands. As a matter of fact, he quotes Reb Chaim Volozhiner, and if you take a look at the Sefer Nefesh HaChaim, you'll see in the introduction, his son, Rabbi Yitzchak Volozhiner, writes, my father, Reb Chaim Volozhiner, used to give me musar when he saw that I didn't get involved in the problems of others. And he said, this is what man is all about. We all have to remember these words, 3 words. Loi la'atzmoi nivra. You are not created for yourself. Hashem did not create any of us so that we should become rich and famous. Hashem created us to care for others. Lahoyil la'achrini, to help others. Therefore, it makes no difference whatsoever whether your children are married or not. But every one of us has to feel the pain of those in Klal Yisrael that have not yet been zoicha for Shidduchim, and even those that may have had their Shidduchim and got divorced or lost a spouse to death. They too feel lonely, as we will see and talk about, and we have to help them. Everybody needs a partner. You can't live alone. It's very, very difficult. People survive, but life was not made that way. And that's why the Torah begins with a Beis, not with an Aleph. The only one that could exist alone is Hashem. Anyone else that exists alone, it's difficult, it's painful. And that's what we came here tonight to change. And we're going to be able to do it, as you'll see in a moment. You know, the Ran, who was one of the Rishonim, asked a question. Where does the word Shidduchim come from? What does it mean? Now, we use it conventionally as Shidduchim, getting married. But he says something very interesting. He says, you know, that there's a pasuk in Shoftim. There was a time during the Shoftim that there was war. And then the pasuk tells us, in Shoftim Gimel pasuk Yud Aleph, Vatishkoit ha'oretz arba'im shana. The earth was quiet for 40 years. There was no machlokes. There was no war. And the Ran says, take a look at that word Vatishkoit in the Targum. You know what the Targum says? Ushadoichas. Ushadoichas ara. There was peace. There was tranquility. That's what the word Shidduch means. Shidduch means peace and tranquility. And that's what people hope for when they get involved in Shidduchim and get involved in marriage. And we know that that's what the ideal marriage is. That both a husband and a wife should find peace and tranquility in marriage. But unfortunately, all of us know that today, that the parsha of Shidduchim is anything but that. As a matter of fact, I always like to say that the parsha of Shidduchim, for most of us, is 3 words that begin with C. 3 C's. In the beginning, it's concern. You have a child, whether it's a boy or a girl, and you're concerned that they'll find the right shidduch. And when it doesn't happen, all of a sudden, after a while, it becomes a challenge. And when it doesn't happen after that, then it becomes a crisis. So first, it's concern, then it's a challenge, and then it's a crisis. And tonight, we're going to face the problem head on. Because the originators of this idea, of this Chazaq initiative, is nothing short of brilliance. Now, you may think, how are we going to change the world? What do you mean? We've had problems with Shidduchim, and all of a sudden we're going to change the world? And I'll show you how we're going to change the world. Because there have been many projects over the last number of years that everyone here will admit that Klal Yisrael has changed. For example, the Shmiras Halashon movement. I remember when Michael Rothschild, Zolzang Gesund and Stark, I consider him one of the 36 tzaddikim, the Lamed Vov tzaddikim of this world. He got involved together with Rav Segel, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, the Manchester Rosh Hashiva, and Rav Shnei Kotler, and they started the Chavetz Chaim Heritage Foundation, the Shmiras Halashon program. Now, all of us admit that we talk much less Lashon Hara than we did when we were kids, because we're embarrassed in front of our own children. Our own children are reading books, watching videos, seeing Tisha B'Av videos, books and everything, all curriculums on Shmiras Halashon. Of course there are people that still speak Lashon Hara, but there were tremendous inroads in Shmiras Halashon. Many schools have curriculums, so that was changed. If somebody would tell you, oh, the Chavetz Chaim said you shouldn't speak Lashon Hara, I don't know whether you're going to get people to stop speaking Lashon Hara. But you know something? They made a great impact. Here's the second movement, the Daf Yomi. Now, when I was growing up, my father, Shalom, was a Moel. I remember I used to go with him Motzei Shabbos to visit babies, and we used to listen to Rav Pinchas Teitz. Rabbi Schoenfeld, I don't know if you're old enough to remember. Rav Pinchas Teitz, Lo Melernin Ablat Gemara. I get the chills when I hear about it, when I say those words. So, Motzei Shabbos, Rav Teitz learned in Yiddish 1 lot of Gemara, and everybody listened to him. And then all of a sudden, Agudas Yisrael got involved in the Daf Yomi movement. And a couple of years ago, on January 1st, 2020, we're going to have 95,000 people in MetLife Stadium. And probably 40 or 50,000 of them will have finished Shas with the Art Scroll Shas. So we made great headway. When I was growing up, who finished Shas? The Gedolei Hador, Rav Moshe Feinstein finished Shas. Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, Rabbi Aaron Kotler, who finish us. Today there's Balabatim in every shul that have gone through Shas 3 times. So don't tell me you can't change. Of course you can change. And what about Kiruv Rechayim? 20, 30 years ago, who would ever believe that you could have the Bali Tshuva movement, the Bali Tshuva movement the way we have it today? Hundreds of thousands around the world. Yereim Ushleimim, wonderful Heilige people. Fathers, mothers, children, grandchildren. It changed. Anything can change if you put your mind to it. And tonight, because Shidduchim is not only a concern, and not only a challenge, and not only a crisis, we're going to make an effort to change it. Now, I want to tell you something. One more thing that I'll show you has changed. I remember a number of years ago, many of you know that since 2003, I've had the great schus to take many, many people to countries where Yiddishkeit flourished. We've gone to Poland, we've gone to Lithuania, we've gone to Spain and Morocco and Kiev, many different places. And one year, part of the trip was Frankfurt, Prague, and Vienna. I come to Frankfurt, and I come to the new Paysach, so to speak, the new one. The old one is where the Pnei Yeshua and the Haflah were buried, but the new one is where Rav Shamshon Hirsch is buried. And I showed everybody, look at that, Rav Shamshon Hirsch, he's buried right next to his wife. And I showed everybody, see the dates? She was 4 years older than him. He went out with a girl that was 4 years older. And when they asked him, why are you doing that? He said, for what I have to accomplish in life, I can't marry a child. So he married a girl that was older. And I was thinking, you know something? It doesn't say any place in the Torah you can't go out with a girl that's older than you. So I decided that's going to be my new vendetta. I'm going to start talking about it all over. I come back next year to Torah Masura Convention, 700 women at Charles Shuddis, and I said, I want to tell you something. I got back from Frankfurt. I want to tell all the mothers here and all the single girls, there's no reason that a girl has to be younger than the boy. Let the boy marry a girl that's older than him. She'll probably be more mature, better earner, better wife, better mother. Fine. And I really hammered home that idea. 3 weeks later, I get a call from Lakewood of Mrs. Levovitz. She calls me up, she says, Rabbi Krohn, I want you to know, I am a Machanechas for more than 20 years. I never, ever came to a Torah Masura convention. This year was the first time I came. And I was wondering, why did Hashem want to dafka this year I should come? And when you spoke, I realized. Because my son was supposed to go out with a girl that was 2 years older than him. I didn't dare tell him that she was older. But then, I wasn't sure whether I should push him. But then when I heard what you said, and then I looked into the girl, I found out she was the great-great-granddaughter of Rav Shamshon Hirsch. So I forced him to go out with her. And you know something? They got engaged. And you know something? A year later they had a boy. They called me to do the bris. And what did they name the baby? Shamshon Mafal. So boy, then I went all out. Then I started talking about it all over the place. That there's no reason in the world that a boy has to go out with a girl that's younger. And now over 1,000 Shidduchim have been made where the girls are older. And a lot of the guys came out of the closet, you know, and they said, oh, my wife's much older, but I was always afraid to tell everybody. Now, I'm not saying a guy should go out with a girl that's 60 years older than him. Not, you know, there's a limit. But the point is, 2-3 years, why not? And so that changed. There's nothing that can't be changed. And if we could change that, we could change anything else as well. And I'll tell you another thing. One of the proposals that we are going to talk about tonight, and I'll tell you something so interesting that happened to me this past week. I was sitting in the kitchen in the morning, I was getting ready to go out to visit a baby, and I get a call from one of my favorite people in the world. His name is Rabbi Weiss. Rabbi Weiss is a genius, a Talmud Chacham, a Paysach, a man that if he was up here now, he could read a whole daf of Gemara, you'd think he has a teleprompter. He knows it about that. Not much like a photographic mind. And he calls me up, he says, I'm here in LaGuardia, I'm stuck. I was in Lakewood last night. We traveled 3 hours. I'm supposed to go to Cleveland, but we missed the flight. There was so much rain. So I know you're in Queens. Can we come over? I'm here with 2 other fellows. Can we stay by you for a couple? I said, Rabbi, what's the question? Of course you can come over. So my wife wasn't home. I never prepared breakfast in my life, right? I took out the bread, I put it in the toaster, I think I put it in the right way, whatever. And I got, tuna spread and lox spread or whatever, and cut up the tomatoes and had the water warmed. I was so proud of myself. I even took a picture of that breakfast table. And my wife said, oh, so you do know how to make breakfast, Anyhow, we had a delightful, delightful morning. And then I asked him, I said, I'm going to Denmark in a few weeks. And Rabbi Eibishitz, he was the Rav in Denmark in a place called Altona, now it's part of Germany. I said, maybe the Rav could tell me something about Rabbi Eibishitz that I could say over on that trip. And he said, I'll tell you something very interesting that Rabbi Eibishitz said. He said, the time span between the first Beis HaMikdash and the second Beis HaMikdash was 70 years. And yet Ezra, when he came back, he said to Hashem, so many of us married Goyish women. And Nebuch, there was a terrible, terrible thing. Within 70 years, there was so much intermarriage. So Rabbi Eibishitz asked, if in 70 years there was so much intermarriage, it's 2,000 years since the Beis HaMikdash. How were you even existing? There should have been so much intermarriage, even more than there is today. How do we exist? How did that happen? And he said, you know what Rabbi Eibishitz said? Anshe Knesset HaGdola established 2 things. One was the shul. I said to Rabbi, what do you mean the shul? He said, till Anshe Knesset HaGdola, there was no such thing as Beis HaKnesset. People davened once a day. That's all the chiyuv is. A guy could choose to daven Shachris, Mincha, Ma'ariv, but nobody davened like we have in a shul today. They were the ones who said you got to daven 3 times a day. They were the ones who said that you have to have a million for Kaddish and Kedusha. And so therefore the institution of a Beis HaKnesset became a reality. People gathered in the shul. It became a social event as well. And that's how people gave chizuk to each other. And that's how Klal Yisrael existed. So it's through the shul that we exist today. Then he gave another separate thing which I don't want to get into because it's very different, and maybe at the end we'll talk about it. But right now I want to talk about the shuls. Because I believe that the plan that we have tonight can change everything. And that is, every single Shemesh Shabbos shul in the world, from now on, in this month of Tammuz as we get to Av, go to the Rav of the shul and make sure that every shul has 2 people that become the promoters, the advocates, and the liaisons for Shidduchim. In case you didn't figure it out, those 3 words spell pal. Promoter, advocate, and liaison. Every one of us has to become a pal of the singles. Every one of us should go to the Rav and say, listen, our shul has to have a pal, 2 pals for Shidduchim. And I'll tell you something. I'm going to mention now the names of Rabbanim here. And I just picked out, there happened 23 Rabbanim that came to my mind in Queens. There are more than 60 shuls in Queens, so I hope nobody will be insulted. But I am positive that as you hear the names of the Rabbanim that I will mention, there are surely people from those shuls here tonight. And they will surely hear this video. And all of us should go to these Rabbanim and say, listen, we've got to appoint in our shul a pal, a promoter, an advocate, a liaison for Shidduchim. Rabbi Marcus, Rabbi Weiss, Rabbi Welcher, Rabbi Friedman, Rabbi Obam, Rabbi Schoenfeld, Rabbi Scheinfeld, Rabbi Fastwoods, Rabbi Schreier, Rabbi Sokolov, Rabbi Tal, Rabbi Nasirov, Rabbi Chaimov, Rabbi Shimanov, Rabbi Meirov, Rabbi Tabibo, Rabbi El-Ghazi, Rabbi Tzadka, Rabbi Rakov, Rabbi Mattel, Rabbi Schwartz, Rabbi Walpin, Rabbi Willig, and Rabbi Lerner. 23, 24 Rabbanim. Imagine if in every shul, and I feel we have to call this the El Project. You know what El stands for? You know, Ani L'Daidi V'Daidi Li. That's marriage. I am for my friend, and my friend is for me. We have to start a project El all year around. And we have to make sure that should be our goal tonight. By the time we come to a Chodesh Elul, every single one of these 23 shuls should have two pals. Two people that will be promoters, advocates, and liaisons. And I tell you that if we do this, it'll be spread all over the world. So that the Shemesh Shabbos shuls in Australia, and in Los Angeles, and in Mexico, everyone will follow us. But we have to take the lead. Because we have three great people here. Odelia, Rabbi Schoenfeld, and Yaniv, who put this idea together. And it's all of us that have to implement it. And if we can implement it and show the world that we are serious, and that these shuls will have two people, whether it's two men or two women, it should be the same gender so they'll be able to work together. And I'll show you in a moment what they're going to do to work together, how we're going to change the face of Shidduchim. And then, of course, we're going to make a tremendous difference. And I'll tell you why it's so important. You know, there's a very interesting Gemara. Ein ben David bo achi yichlu neshamayis shebaguf. Mashiach's not coming until all the neshamayis of the guf are completed, are expelled. What does that mean? What is the Gemara talking about? Rashi says, Yesh oitzer, there's a treasure house that's called guf. Umibereshis, and from the time of the beginning of creation, noitzrei kol haneshamayis, Hashem created all the neshamayis that are going to be born, v'nosnam l'sham, and He puts them in that storage house. And they have to leave that storage house. How do they leave? When people get married and they have children. Ein ben David bo, Mashiach's not coming until all those neshamas were born. The reason that we have to read Shidduchim is not only to bring happiness, peace, and tranquility to individuals, but when people get married, they have children, and every child is one step closer to Mashiach, and that's why we have to do it. And I'll tell you something frightening. You may not know this, but you know, at the end of 120 years, the Gemara Shabbos Lamed Aleph tells us, at the end of time, we're going to be asked certain questions. And one of the questions that we are going to be asked is, Osakta b'pirya v'rivya. Were you involved in the mitzvah of Pru Ravu? And the Mashal asked an interesting question. Why doesn't it say Kiyata Pirya v'rivya? Well, you makayim the mitzvah. He says, no, it's not talking about having children. He says, you know what Paysach means? Did you get involved? Lahesi yosem v'yasayma. Did you read Shidduchim to those who have no network? The Yosem who's got no father and mother. The Yisayma who's got no parents. The Balchuva who doesn't have that network that many of us have. Osakta b'pirya v'rivya, we're going to have to answer that question. That's why we got to get involved in Shidduchim. That's why we have to be a pal. Because we're going to have to give an answer. There's a lot of other questions. Were you honest in business? Were you govei to Matayra? Did you hope for Mashiach? But it doesn't say Kiyamta Pirya v'rivya. It says Osakta. Were you involved? And that means ready Shidduchim. And I want to tell you something. There are many, many young people. One of the women mentioned it before, that need coaches. Many years ago, whoever heard of a coach for a guy that's going out or a girl that's going out? But whatever it is, that's how it is. And if that's how it is, we have to face up to it. And we have to make sure they have access to the coaches. I'll tell you what happened just a few weeks ago. I was in a foreign country, I don't want to say where, and that was about 8 months ago. And when I came to the foreign country, I was supposed to speak, and the guy's house where I was staying in, he's brought me in there numerous times. He said, Rabbi Krohn, you got to help me. I said, what's the problem? He says, I have a daughter who's going out with the greatest kid here in town. But she can't finish it. I don't want her to let him go. He's such a great guy. She just can't make the final move. Maybe you could talk to her. I said, listen, I'm not a shadchan, I'm not like a coach, but I will tell you this. I don't know if we can do it long distance, but I know wonderful coaches in New York. He says, I'm coming to New York. I said, when are you coming? He said, I'm coming to the Aguda convention. I said, that's great. I'm also going to be there. Let's get together, bring your daughter, and we'll make some calls, and then we'll make an appointment. Sure enough, he comes Thanksgiving weekend, he comes with his daughter to the Aguda convention, and I meet the girl. I had met her, of course, in the house. And I said to her, listen, I know one of the greatest coaches around. Her name is Yael Kaisman. And, we're here for Shabbos, but let me give her a call. I have her number, and I'll make an appointment for you. You're going to be here a couple of days after the convention. So I call her up. We're sitting in the lobby. Mama's having breakfast. I call Mrs. Kaisman. I said, I have this wonderful, wonderful girl who's here from another country. Her father's going crazy. She needs a coach. Would you be able to speak to her? She said, yeah, I'd love to, but I'm out of town. I said, where are you? She says, I'm in Stamford, Connecticut at the Aguda convention. I said, what, you're joking, right? She says, no, why? What do you mean? I said, I'm in the lobby. She says, I'm in the 5th floor. I'll see you in a minute. And sure enough, she came down. She met the girl. She spent so much time with her that day, throughout the convention, and then the next couple of days. And you know something? They flew me down for the wedding. It was mamash min hashamayim. And so therefore, there are many, many people out there that need coaches, and they shouldn't be embarrassed, and they'll be able to find them. There's a fellow, Dr. Shaya Astro. He's a wonderful person, a great coach. You have to be able to get a hold of him and not be embarrassed. There's another great coach, a woman, her name is Rachel Burnham. She used to be Rachel Avigdor. She has this great website. If you want to write it down, go on the letter D, the number 8, the letter GR, and the number 8.com. Really, it stands for date great. But she has webinars, and she teaches people, and those webinars are free. And sometimes a girl just can't make that final decision, the boy can't make the final decision, and she talks about it. So now let me tell you. Let me tell you what the purpose of tonight is. You see, there were 4 great presenters here, one better than the next. And what they are going to do, let's start with partners in Shidduchim. What they are going to do is, you see, Odelia is going to be sitting in the Chazaq office. And all these 4 organizations that we heard about tonight, partners in Shidduchim, Adopt a Shadchan, Why You Connect, Saw You at Sinai, they do so many wonderful things. They have events and they have seminars. As one of the women mentioned, what to say, when to say, how to say about a medical issue. And what do parents do? Do they get involved? Do they not get involved? Do they interfere? Do they don't interfere? How much should they push? But we don't know about these resources. So the greatness of tonight is that the 4 great people who got up here before, they will feed Odelia at Chazaq all the information that they have, the events, the seminars, the webinars, and then Odelia is going to send it to all the pals in all the shuls around the world. So now look what happens. All of a sudden, all the great things that partners in Shidduchim are doing, Adopt a Shadchan is doing, Saw You at Sinai, and Why You Connect. Now all of a sudden the people in your shul will become aware of it. And they'll be able to go to a single, to be able to go to a parent and say, hey, listen, there's a seminar going on about how to date. There's a seminar going on, how do you deal with a broken engagement? There's a seminar that's going out, what if you're looking for the type of guy, and it's not exactly, but he's got everything else. So what's the fabulous thing, and that's why it's imperative that every shul has these pals. Because these pals are going to get the feeding, the transmission of all that information that's going on every month. It'll go to the Chazaq office, and then it'll come to every pal, in every shul. And that's why I'm begging you, let's do it in Queens. Make sure that by Rosh Chodesh Elul, every shul has 2 pals, has 2 promoters, the advocates, the liaisons, and then we're going to show the whole world that they can do it too. And all the wonderful information. Now I went on one of these websites. I went on the website of Partners in Shidduchim. So I want to explain to you the greatness of this particular organization. You go on the website, and let's say you have a cousin. And the cousin wants somebody, she's a girl, she wants somebody who's not yeshivish, he's working, he's got to be over 30, and more the quiet type. Now on that site, you have over 1,000 people to choose from. But when you say not yeshivish, bang, 300 get off the list. You say quiet type, another 200 get off the list. Over 30, another 300 get off the list. And like this, you siphon off exactly what you're looking for. And then, as she said, everybody can be a shadchan. Go on that site, you'll see what I'm talking about. And that's the brilliance of that site. Adopt a shadchan is a wonderful idea. Every shul, just like we have adopt a kollel. So many of you know that in your shul they pay the money for a kollel in Eretz Yisrael. Let's say every shul will now pay a certain amount, whether 18 to 36, as was mentioned. And the shadchan is going to come to the shul and going to speak to the 2 pals and get the names of every single man and woman and work for them. And so therefore we have now access to 4 wonderful organizations. Soyuat Sinai. And why you connect, as Mrs. Glatt mentioned, has so many wonderful seminars and events that take place. Now, Klal Yisrael is very big. Not everybody's yeshivish. Not everybody's YU. But we have to serve everybody. It's our brothers and sisters. That's why we get together here in Queens. Queens is the greatest neighborhood in the world, but we've got everybody here. Anybody that you want is in Queens. And that's why we have the greatest Rabbanim in the world in Queens. Because they understand what being a Rav is all about. And that's why this neighborhood was chosen. Because we're going to be the role models for the whole world. We're going to have these pals in every shul. Chazaq is going to get the information every month from those 4 great organizations. And I'm going to tell Rachel Burnham also from Day Great to make sure that she sends the information. I'll try to get Agudas Yisrael also to get involved, send the information, and they'll give it out to your shul. So if you know a single, or there's somebody in your shul, you're going to have the advantage of all that information that's going to be given. But I want to add one more thing. And that is, every one of us, as was mentioned before, has to be involved in Shidduchim on a personal level. You have to read Shidduchim. People are very sad. People are very lonely. And it's very hard to live alone. I want to read to you a letter that a single girl wrote me. She said, Rabbi Krohn, I'm now 26 and still looking for my Basher. And yet I understand and appreciate that for some reason this is my Nisayan. That for some reason I was meant to wait while all my friends one by one get married and now Baruch Hashem have children. Rabbi Krohn, this in itself would be hard to bear, but the attitudes of others make it insufferable. There are those who are insulting. You're so picky. You sure you know what you want? You just don't know what the Jewish home is all about. I come from a wonderful Jewish home. I have wonderful Jewish parents. But I have to sit and listen politely because maybe that's the person that's going to read my shidduch. It's very difficult. Some guys say the worst day of the year. You know what the worst day of the year is for a single guy? Simchas Torah. Right? Simchas Torah, everybody's so happy, right? For these guys who don't have children on their shoulders. And the only thing they get is candy apples stuck on their jackets, right? From those pesky kids that their friends have, that they wish they had. Yom Tov is very, very hard for a single guy. And then she writes, nobody realizes how embarrassing it is to have to ring up perfect strangers and ask for help. How many humiliating situations myself and my friends who are so far from home. And we have to make plans week in and week out. It's terrible. Don't invite somebody Friday night when you see them in shul. Think about them Monday and Tuesday. Let them feel that you thought about them. Now's the time to think about who you can have Rosh Hashanah at your house. Now's the time. Call a single. Make them feel that you thought about them, that you care about them. That'll make a tremendous, tremendous difference. What I say all the time is keep cards in your pocket. Blue cards and pink cards. And keep it in a box, call it a matchbox. And you write all the singles, men on the blue cards, and the girls on the pink cards. And when you come to a chasana, you know what I believe when people should read Shidduchim during the first course, before the chassan kala come down. Everybody's sitting, it used to be, that everybody used to want to know what table they sit at. Nobody cares anymore because everybody's on their cell phones. So it makes no difference who you're sitting next to. But the point is, that's the time to read Shidduchim. Take out the cards and ask people. Because after all, you're at a chasana. Do you know that 70% of Shidduchim are read by private people, not by shadchanim? By people like you and I that are not really professional shadchanim. And so therefore people are counting on us. I'll tell you the truth. What you have to do is read a shidduch that makes sense. Do you know how insulted people get when you read a shidduch to some of them and the shidduch makes no sense whatsoever? I remember a girl who lived in Kew Gardens. She was divorced. She moved back to Detroit. She was so fed up. She wasn't getting married. She wasn't getting a date. Finally, she came in from Detroit for a shidduch date. So she told me she figured that she's going to call the shadchan and, call another shadchan while she's here. Maybe she'll get a second date. After all, she's coming in from Detroit. So she calls the second shadchan and he says, "Oh, how come you're in?" She says, "Well, I'm going out on a date." He says, "Oh, who are you going out with?" She says, "Well, I really don't want to say." "Well, come on, you could trust me, You want me to help you, right?" So she said the name. So the shadchan says, "Uy vey." She said, "What's wrong?" "No, it's okay, don't worry." She said, "What do you mean? You tell me? I should tell you the name? You go, uy vey, you don't..." "All right, I'll tell you. The guy you're going out with, the reason he got divorced is that he beat his wife."
Oh my God.
She said, "What? I have to go out with a guy like that?" Listen to what this short little woman thought of. She goes out with the guy. They're driving on the highway in 5 minutes. And he says to her, "You got any hobbies?" She said, "Yeah, I'm a black belt in karate." The date ended 10 minutes later. Smart woman. Today she's happily married and living in Eretz Yisrael. She can't read a shidduch to a guy who beat his wife. If he did tshuva, that's great. God will forgive him. Don't read him a shidduch. Not a person like that. It's not fair. Another guy told me a story. It's unbelievable. I don't want to say what neighborhood this happened, but this girl was in an apartment house. He's a Rabbi in yeshiva. She's a very frum girl. So he comes down, he opens up the door for her, good. Then down in the lobby there was like 2 doors. The first door out to the vestibule, second door out to the street. And he opens up the door for her. She walks out first. He walks behind her. And then the second time he does the same thing. They get into the car. He didn't even put the keys in the ignition. She turns to him, "You're ready?" He said, "Yeah." "You know halacha?" "I think so." "You know a guy's not supposed to walk out behind a girl? Not supposed to walk behind a woman? You did that twice." She opens up the door and she runs back into the house. Well, he's running after her. The doorman opens up the door and he says to the guy, "I think the date is over." What kind of shit is that? You have to be sensitive to both sides. We want to do mitzvahs, of course, but you just can't read those type of shidduchim. It's just simply not fair. So I just want to tell you one more thing about me personally, and then we'll review quickly and end with a sad but poignant story. One of my children had a difficult time with shidduchim. And I'm sure every father and mother goes through this. That when your child is going through shidduchim, first you blame them. Well, if your hair would be different, you had a different hairstyle, guys would be attracted to you. All kinds of excuses. And then, then you blame yourself, you blame your wife, everybody. Finally, I realized, you know something, it's probably my fault. I'm only involved in my daughter's Shidduchim, and I don't care about anybody else. I took a notebook, and every single time I made a call for my daughter, I made a call for somebody else's daughter. And you know something? Once I started that notebook, within a month and a half, she was engaged. And that's what Chazal say. You need something, you're down for somebody else. Get involved and help somebody else. So tonight, we've come together to start the Chazaq initiative. We must make it that in every shul we have these pals. The promoters, the advocates, the liaisons. And Yaniv and I were talking about it. What we're going to try to do is going to make sure those people that sign up as pals, we'll try to give them an initiative, we'll try to give them an incentive. I don't want to say what we were talking about, because if it doesn't come to fruition, people will be upset, but we want to give everyone who becomes a promoter, an advocate, a liaison, we want to give them something. They should feel chashed, they should feel that they are the pride of the Paysach Knesset. And they're going to set the standard for everybody else. And all those 4 organizations, they're going to send every month information to Chazaq, and Chazaq is going to give it to all those people. It's going to be a special website, special WhatsApp just for those pals all over the world. And the greatness of tonight is that now all of a sudden every single will have access to seminars and webinars and advice and counseling and coaches and Shidduchim like they never ever had before. And we can do it, and we're going to do it. And so I just want to end with this story. It's not easy to listen to, but it's going to get the point across. I have a very close friend, his name is Yaakov Solomon. He's a therapist. I don't know why all my best friends are therapists. I have a problem, but whatever. So I remember he once told me something that was so painful. He said a girl came in, she was a 23, 24-year-old girl, and she was in his office. And she was talking about how miserable it was to be alone. And she told him something that happened the second night of Yom Tov. The second night of Yom Tov, nobody had invited her, and she had to make Kiddush alone. And she didn't remember the halacha, whether you make Shechiyanu on the second night of Shavuos. Do you only make the first night, and the second night you don't, or the second night you also do? And she was so embarrassed that she was going to have to go into somebody else's house and ask if you make a Shechiyanu. And then she started crying, and she said to Yaakov Solomon, I didn't go, you know why? Because I was thinking, even if I have to make a Shechiyanu, do I really want to make a Shechiyanu? Is that what I'm thanking Hashem for? That I live to see this day? That I have to celebrate a night of Yom Tov alone? And that's how we have to look at every person that's single. Whether they're a widow or a widower, divorced, makes no difference. I'm telling you, I'm involved with Samchenu women, 800 women almanas in the New York metropolitan area. I'm involved with sister to sister, over 700 women who have kids between the age 8 and 18, besides other divorced women that don't have children in that age. It's terrible. We've got to do something. And Mitzvah Hashem, we're going to do it. We have to thank Yaniv, we have to thank Rabbi Schoenfeld and Odelia for this great initiative. But it all starts in the Paysach Knesset. It all starts. If we don't have these pals, these promoters, these advocates, these liaisons, then all the information of these great organizations, they have nobody to give it to. Let's make sure there's a keli that's Makabel Bracha. And the kelim of the Paysach Knesset are those people. And that way, hopefully, that we'll be able to bring Zivugim, and then the original Zivug, which is Klal Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, will really be the Simcha. Hashem will give us the greatest ring, which is Mashiach. May it be in our time. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for listening.